At this place in history, we're on Route 7 in Pittsford. I'm with the Executive Director of the Vermont Historical Society, Steve Perkins. And this monument, people drive by it all the time. What is it for?
I know, I've driven by this so many times too. And it was erected by the town of Pittsford, and this is the site of Fort Vengeance, which was built in 1780. So we're talking American Revolution. Now, Vermont has all sorts of monuments like this along the sides of the roads, and you drive by them. So it's so cool to take a time to stop and look. So Amanda, we've come back to the studio here. I made some phone calls and we found Bill Powers, who has joined us. He's a historian. He's done a fair amount of research on Fort Vengeance. And so I know we have questions, so let's get them answered.
Well, in the 1770s, after Burgoyne came through with his troops and devastated the area, so there was a string of forts that ran from Fort Warren and Castleton, Fort Vengeance in Pittsford, which was built, and then over the Green Mountains to the Royalton area where there were other forts. And they said, we can't protect you above that line, so recede, head south, and we can protect you from there. That was the initial thought for having the Fort Vengeance built.
What did it look like?
It was merely a palisade fort with trees cut down and a palisade built around about an acre or more of land. It contained about 150.
So there was a name that was very prominent on the monument that we saw in Pittsburgh, Caleb Houghton, is that correct?
Correct.
Who is that?
Technically, that monument in Pittsford is the Caleb Houghton Monument, and it was established on the site of Fort Vengeance. Caleb Houghton was a soldier stationed there at Fort Vengeance, and he had gone down to visit a house where Mrs. Sarah Cox June was doing his laundry. But on the way back from that house, he was attacked and killed by an Indian about a half a mile south of Fort Vengeance. When Ebenezer Allen, who was the commander of the fort and was responsible for building the fort, heard about this, he took a rum bottle and smashed it against the gate to the fort and vowed vengeance because of what they'd done to Caleb Houghton. And that's how Fort Vengeance got its name.
Did the troops in the fort see much action?
Not really. The fort was never attacked. The fort was built in the spring of 1780. It was basically finished by the summer, probably except for the brickwork for the furnaces. And it lasted till about 1782. Nothing really significant happened there in the big picture, but they thought it was pretty important to protect them from any invasion that might come down from Canada. The fort was built on Caleb Hindy's property, and he went back and occupied the fort site again on his property, and he probably disassembled it. Dr. A.M. Caverly was a resident of Pittsford, and he wrote the history of Pittsford in 1872. He kind of resurrected the memory of Fort Vengeance, if you will. As a result, they erected the monument in 1783, had all kinds of dignitaries there. There was photographs taken and by C.W. Nichols in Rutland. So there was a big celebration. It happened in August of 1873.
When Route 7 was widened, the monument got moved a little bit. They also did a full archaeological survey of the site. These are some objects that we pulled out. We have a 1746 Spanish silver real. These were used by troops as a form of currency in the American colonies. We have some early Masonic cufflinks. Some basket weave buttons. They're very similar to basket weave buttons that were found in Mackinac and what's now Michigan. And then this is a 1772 British halfpenny. So certainly from that time period of the fort.
So if people want to learn more about Fort Vengeance or other forts from that time period or that region, where should they go? Where can they go?
Well, you want to know more about Fort Vengeance, come to the Pittsford Historical Society. We have a wonderful display. We have a wonderful museum.
So that's the story of Fort Vengeance.
At this place in history.